Hello there, this is Elena in my channel Enough. Today I'm saying enough of Russian propaganda and lies, especially about the war in Ukraine, because it's really terrible what is happening there. And for people who see me first time, I can tell you a couple words about myself. I'm an economist, former associate professor at several Russian universities, an expert on Russian-Ukrainian relations, 2013-2022, and currently a Canadian writer and traveler. I was born and lived in two dictatorships, the USSR and Russia. Now I have been living in Canada for 18 years, and I know what is Soviet and Russian propaganda can do to people. I did extensive research of the war in Ukraine, 2014-2022, and I support Ukraine in this war, which Russian government doesn't even allow Russian people to call a war. It is very important to tell the truth about this. The war Putin started in 2014 when Russia attacked Ukraine, and about that invasion, full-scale invasion, which happened in February of this year. And I was fighting Putin's regime for many years and predicted his ambition to get Ukraine in my book in 2017, which I self-published in Russia. The book is in Russian. But I hoped that it will not happen, the invasion. But after the full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February of this year, I created this new YouTube channel, Enough, where I share the information about Ukraine and the war, which I collected and verified for 9 years. I also provide the facts that people welcome to verify themselves. And I'm fighting Russian trolls as well. And providing the information about propaganda in the USSR and my experience dealing with KGB and how to fight the propaganda. This is very important because so many lies told by Russia these days. And I have videos about propaganda and like this video, for instance, and so on. So you're welcome to check it out. And this is important playlist about the war in Ukraine. The first video I filmed the last. It's summary of everything. But the rest of the videos and in the description of the videos there are proofs of many things I'm saying. And this is what it is about. Some Russian trolls, some mostly Russian-speaking trolls, trying to write to me and explain to me how wrong I am, how dare I am to criticize Russia, that I can't consider myself Russian even though I'm a Russian citizen, that it's not, that the special operation, which they have every time different reasons for, telling about how they were supposed to denazify Ukraine, which again I have a video about Nazis. It's right there, which is explaining that Ukraine doesn't have Nazis, no more than any other countries. Or that's the last thing they say, well, we started special military operation to force Ukraine to have peace. So this is about peace in Ukraine. The war in Ukraine started Girkin, Strelkov, and Putin. This is the man, and this is where he admits that on camera personally. And Putin personally admits in this video that Crimea belongs to Ukraine, and Ukraine is an independent country, and then nothing wrong with Crimea, and there is no reason to, and he will respect the borders of Ukraine. So you're welcome to check out also descriptions to the videos, which has lots of information as well. So normally I didn't really plan to show some atrocities or anything like that. My channel wasn't about that, but apparently some Russian people doesn't know that it's happening. They thinking they're doing a good thing in Ukraine. And a few useful idiots from the West include people like Oliver Stone and so on, who supporting Putin and Putin's propaganda, or Steven Seagal and so on. And some trolls as well. They are the Russians who trying to speak English, but they foreign people who really don't know what's happening. That is why I decided to make this video. And this video will consist just from the footage of different channels, which I'll give you links in, and you're welcome to watch it yourself. I just will point out a few things. I start from this video because Russians say, how come they doing investigations during the war? This war, for everybody to know, it's most well-documented war in history. And this is how it's done.
As Russian artillery has devastated Ukrainian cities and Ukrainian lives, seemingly with impunity. The US and the international community have accused Russia of war crimes in Ukraine. But what has been difficult is tying specific generals to specific crimes, the key to actually carrying out war crimes prosecutions. In Kharkiv, CNN has seen the aftermath of attacks using indiscriminate cluster munitions, a war crime. In a 2-month-long investigation, CNN can reveal the commander responsible for these attacks and the string of atrocities he's committed, not just in Russia's latest war in Ukraine, but also in the 2014 war in Donbass and in Syria. Chief International Investigative Correspondent Nema Elbegir has this exclusive report. You might.
So this video is showing how the team of CNN reporters investigated with the help of Ukraine and tie the bombing on Kharkiv, city of Kharkiv, which I have friends in right now, to the certain general, to Russian general,
this man, Colonel General Alexander Zhuravlov,
Alexander Zhuravlov. And I verified this guy and find out about him quite a bit, so I agree with what investigations find. And how did they prove that it was him who could command those cluster bombing of Kharkiv? Peaceful Ukrainian city with majority of Russian population, Russian-speaking population in there. And this is what's happening. This is how they bombing this city from Russian territory.
I would say around Kharkiv. I don't know if you can hear this right now.
This is the start of the war. CNN senior international correspondent Fred Pleitgen witnessed artillery being fired from inside Russia within Zhuravlov's district towards the city of Kharkiv.
So that general personally responsible for that, because only him could give the order to shoot at Ukrainians with that Smerch rockets. It's a cluster bombs, cluster ammunition, and that's how it looks like when it's happening.
A war crime. The use of Smerch rockets are key in our findings of who is responsible, because they are unique to one unit here, one command.
Many of you may be seeing that video already.
After months of forensic work, we can reveal the trail of evidence leading to Zhuravlov. Using social
trail of evidence,
the hole
and
that it came through. You can
this
see
is
the way
that
the rocket buckled
one of those
when it hit the car. You can also very clearly see
hit the
that
car.
this is a Smerch.
They talking
it's
about
not the only rocket coming from this direction on this day.
Several of
Less
those
than
rockets
away. Notice the date, 2019.
proving that is Russian
Russia
ammunition.
stopped selling arms to Ukraine in 2014. This confirms this is a Russian.
This is from 2019, and Russia stopped selling weapons to Ukraine in 2014. So this is confirmed that it is Russian. And they're talking about 11 hits. These 3 from the 27th of February 2022, and the rest of it from next day, the 28th of February. This is the footage I'll show you today. It's from different times. It's just I put it all together in one video for some people who still don't know that there is war in Ukraine and what is happening. They could come and see what is one of my countries, Russia, doing to the neighbor country, Ukraine. And great job, CNN, in the investigations. This is when some people try to tell me that Mariupol, it's a city in Ukraine, again, mostly Russian-speaking city, wasn't even destroyed. They said, oh, there was such a precise shooting at the city that even plastic windows didn't break. Look at this. This is Mariupol. This is the theater, which is people were hiding, children were hiding in this theater. That is why here in Russian it said children. So it didn't get bombed. Did it help? No, it did not. People died. 95% of the city destroyed. It looked like Stalingrad after the war. And some other cities like Kiev, Borodyanka, before the war and after, Kharkiv. Some of Russians dare to say Ukrainians shooting at themselves. Imagine you doing it to your city just to get what? International sympathy? This is the Azovstal plant. I used to work at steel plant at some point on a huge steel plant in Russia. And what I did for my country, my team created business plan to keep that steelworks plant operating, because the court would bankrupt the steelworks plant. It wasn't in Ukraine, it was in Russia. And 7,000 people kept their job because of me and my team. And the team who was doing it in my steelworks plant. So I know what it's looked like to have a steelworks plant. This is bigger and more elaborate. And that is why civilians were hiding there, because they had lots of elaborate underground places to hide. But they were starved, and they was bombed by the phosphorus bombs, which is illegal by many international laws. Look how it looks like. It's almost beautiful, but it's deadly, and that white phosphorus just destroys whatever it touches. This is memories of Mariupol. This is another footage about that. These are the horrors of the war. I'll show it once in one video, and hopefully don't have to do it again. This is for people who denying things, who saying it's not everything is for sure. We don't know what's happening there. This is what's happening. Russia is bombing Ukraine to the ground, destroying it, killing Ukrainian people by bunches. This is for Russian useful idiots and trolls who saying we're not bombing civilians. No, oh no, we're making only precise shots in the ammunition depots. Someday I'll show you how it looks like when its ammunition depot gets destroyed. Ukrainian does it with 16 HIMARSes. Ukraine not only could destroy Russian army, but get counteroffensive and get back several thousand kilometers of its territory. This is how Russia doesn't bomb civilians. 20,000 civilians have died in the city of Mariupol. Ukrainian officials say about 100,000 civilians remain in Mariupol, which was home to about 430,000 residents before the war. Keep in mind that it was mostly Russian-speaking people who lived in Mariupol, yet they considered themselves Ukrainians, and they were killed for that. This article is by this source. But also, if I show something, it means that I seen that information in reliable sources, and I verified it from different sources. It's not just I seen one thing and all of a sudden decided to believe in it. This is a raw footage. It's all from different times. This is February, the other one was March, April. So far I'm just showing it. This is raw footage, how it looks like when the bomb hits. And this is different city, Kramatorsk. Also February of 2022. Which also does look like cluster bombing. But I'm not specialist about that. I can't see it very well, so I can't say for sure. This is very scary for the people when it's happening to them. This is April. Ukrainian city Bucha.
At the gateway to Bucha and Hostomel, there are the mangled remains of Russian vehicles and the blown bridge which marks the extent of their advance. And nearby, the burnt bodies of soldiers killed here by a Ukrainian counter-offensive. Gruesome sentinels to a battlefield in which dated Russian machinery was pitted against the latest Western-supplied anti-tank weapons.
This is the most potent symbol of the Russian defeat here in Bucha, a street.
There isn't just one site where massacres occur. Here mark a bleak new low in this conflict, described by Ukraine as the most outrageous atrocity of the 21st century.
This is massacre of Bucha.
There isn't just one site where massacres occurred. The true picture here is only just emerging. This man in Hostomel tells me about the rape and dismemberment of a young woman at the hands of 2 Chechen soldiers. He says they just slaughtered her like a lamb, but adds he took his revenge with other local men, killing them both. For the civilians like Maxim Skripnik, caught between...
So, and this, the bodies of Russian soldiers, which Ukrainians store in refrigerated train. And for long months, many of them maybe not even claimed until now. Russians doesn't even know about the terrible losses. Over 50,000, I think over 52, dead Russian soldiers. Russians doesn't know about it. And nobody's thinking that there is a war and the people are dying. What's gonna happen to those bodies? Who are their parents? That must be awful for the parents to see that type of stuff happening to their children. This is their documents. It's a medical book. This is the Russian passport. This is how Russians doesn't bomb civilians. Also keep in mind, that is what I wanted to show you sometime and maybe show in other videos. See, there are many videos that Russian tanks blowing up and the top of it, like the head of the tank, kind of the turret flying away. Why is that? It's because of the flaws in Russian design of Russian tanks. They burning like a matches, and if they hit, it blow up from inside, killing all the people who is in the tank. And that is why so often you could see the top of the tank kind of blown off. This is my countrymen dying in Ukraine, killing Ukrainians, all because Putin decided it's a good idea. And some of the trolls writing to me, or some real people I met, who actually real people, saying, we supporting our president. Nazi Germany also people supported Hitler. But they were actually supporting him really, truly. Russians, majority supporting because has nothing else to do, because they don't have a choice, and some of them just because they get paid like Russian propagandists. But there are some people who truly told me that they do support Putin. Why? So this is how it looks like. This is fresh video from September 14th. Ukraine war accounts of Russian torture emerging in liberated areas. This is a new Bucha. This town called Izum.
Let's for the moment turn to developments in Ukraine, though. Accounts are emerging of brutality and murders carried out by Russian troops in areas just liberated by Ukrainian forces. Ukraine says it's retaken 4,000 square kilometres of territory so far this month.
Way more.
The Lilac area shows...
So this they captured within days. It just was amazing. And now we're looking at the city Izum, which we could see the police station there, which was occupied by Russians. And
Ukrainian police lead us to a crime scene.
Basically,
it's inside their own former police station in the city of Balaklia. For 6 months, the Russians were the law here, and local civilians were at their mercy. A former detainee told us both men and women were tortured with electric shocks.
When also marked out the
in
days,
this little room was 8 people.
The police say that
local
marking days
and
writing to even pass by this building, afraid that they would be captured by the Russians.
Prayer.
Ukrainian investigators are here now, beginning to...
So Ukraine investigating, like I heard Mr. Podolyak, the advisor of to the office of Ukrainian president, he was explaining in the past on the Popular Politics channel, Russian opposition channel, that Ukrainians and international specialists investigating all of this like a murder cases. Like there is CSI, there is all the investigation going how it's supposed to be. They're proving like what's the cause of death, how it happened, what happened, and so on.
To gather evidence about what happened behind these walls from people like Artyom, who was held for more than 40 days.
More than 40 days, this man was captured and held against his will, tortured.
They made me hold 2 wires, he said, attached to an electric generator. The faster you spin it, the higher the voltage. They kept spinning it and asking questions. They said I was lying, so they did it more. It happened to some prisoners every other day.
So you're welcome to see this video, and this is what the mother of the murdered Ukrainian,
says Valentina, Petro's mother. For what? He's not just killing our children, he's killing us, the mothers. I am dying. And I am speaking to all the mothers of the world. Rebel against that assassin.
I feel really terrible for this woman. She lost her son. And this is Izum. This is also September 16th. It's today. They discovered mass graves in the forest. Kharkiv region. Eastern Ukraine. And some graves with Russian soldiers too. They're checking it for mines and stuff like that. People buried from the... I seen already 450 somewhere. That's the number of bodies found so far in mass graves in Izum. It's kind of like second Bucha. Why they find it so many? It's because Ukrainian army advanced so fast that Russians couldn't destroy the evidence. And I heard that they're destroying it right now in Mariupol, which we seen early in this video. Burning the bodies and trying to pretend that these people left somewhere, that they wasn't killed in Mariupol. They're just burning their bodies. But in Izum, in Bucha, and Gostomel, and some other places, they just ran so fast, they couldn't do it. That is why right now, and they didn't even bother to hide it all that badly, because they thought after the quick victory, it would be easier to do later. They didn't care at the time. They didn't know that they had to run, will have to run very quickly from advancing Ukrainian army, and they wouldn't be able to hide the war crimes they committed.
І міжнародні всі. Ми хочемо, щоб світ знав, що реально відбувається і до чого призвела російська окупація.
This is what the speech of Ukrainian president you also can watch, and this is the information also about the Izum and about, which is basically bombed, 80% of city bombed. This is interesting article as well about dead people. And in Bucha, it's a suburb of Kiev, authorities say it was 458 bodies found after 33 days Russian occupation. And authorities say they have uncovered bodies for more than 1,300 people elsewhere, many in mass graves in Kiev area forest. And President Zelensky himself visited Izum and visited his military forces and so on. And Putin is hiding in his bunker and haven't come to the front once. So this is the horrible crimes of Putin's regime, and I am against it. That's why I created my channel, where I can share the real information with people. And I am against Putin, I'm against his regime, and I'm sharing the information I have with you, so you didn't have to spend 9 years verifying information and trying to find out who is right, who is not. The people who lied to Russian people, they lied to the rest of the world. I seen some support of Mr. Lavrov, lying bad guy from Russia who is supporting all this war, supporting Putin, and I demand sanctions put on personally on Putin, on his family members, his lover now under the sanctions, which is not because she is his lover and mother of his children, Alina Kabayeva, but because she is the CEO of media group who supporting Ukraine war. And all these people supposed to be under sanctions. They supposed to pay for the crimes they committed. Ukraine need help. Right now, Ukraine fighting for the freedom, our freedom, freedom of Europe, from Russian bloody dictator who murdering people in Ukraine, and he wants to continue to go further. He talking about other countries, invading other countries, so Ukraine is just the beginning. Putin must be stopped. Putin's regime will fall. The only question when. Ukraine right now proved to all the world that they committed to democratic values, they committed to defend themselves and their freedom, and they don't have any other choice. It's either they win or they will die. Putin will kill them all. Because Ukrainians will never stop fighting for their freedom, and Putin wouldn't tolerate it. After those atrocities you guys and ladies and gentlemen saw just now or earlier in some other videos, you can understand why right now Putin losing the war, politically he's already lost, he trying to pretend that he wants to have a peace talk. Like, solve the conflict. It's not a conflict, it's a war. People were died and killed and tortured. Many of them, as you clearly saw. And right now saying, let's solve the conflict. It's like somebody, I don't know, borrowed your car without, your neighbor borrowed your car without your permission, or moved the fence line for like few inches further than he should have. That's the conflict, which you can sit down with your neighbor and solve it. This is not that type of conflict. This is a war. And Ukrainians, they don't have any other choice. They stand up against Putin. Putin will never forgive it, that they dared to stand up for their freedom. He will kill them all. Over 20 million Ukrainians, the quarter of the population of the country of 44 million people, left the country, had to run for their life because they didn't want to get bombed like you just saw. People in Mariupol is a terrible, horrible atrocities. And Ukrainians standing up not only for themselves, but they're standing up for the whole free world. Because countries of Europe are next. France, Germany, you are next. Ukraine is the only thing which is standing between you and Putin. So, stop talking to him. Enough of that. It's time to act. It's time to give Ukraine what they need to win this war. They can, and they just prove that they can. Freedom to Ukraine, and freedom to Russians from Putin's regime. Thank you for watching my videos. Have a good day.